Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of Wrestling Prime, the classic. And I am your host, Tom Dog. And yeah, the Bowden Broadcasting. There you go. A little late on delivery. I apologize, folks. But listen, we got a good show here. We got a good show lined up for tonight, just for you, because we have a lot to talk about. And even though I'm taking a break from all the wrestling news, from all the wrestling news and everything like that, because as you saw at the bumper, um, at the thumbnail, yeah, I'm debuting a new segment. It's called Wrestle Rant, and we're going to talk about we'll bring that up in just a few minutes. But first, we got to do our sponsor, and that is W Energy. And what is W Energy? It's not this. And I know I was supposed to do a review on this, so I'm going to do the review here. Um, this is good. This is really, really good. But you know what's even better? W Energy. And what is W Energy? It's an energy supplement that has no sugar, no artificial colors, flavors, and dyes, and no chances of you laying down for anybody. So if you don't want to lay down for anybody, do yourself a favor. Get go to W Go to w.gg right now. Use that promo code BRILL at the checkout, and you'll be able to save 30% on your purchase at the checkout on anything you buy in the store. And yeah, it went up to 30. Oh, so the savings went up because I guess 10% wasn't cutting it, so 30 is even better. So, so yeah. So if you don't want to, so yeah, I had to look for it. I had to check that out myself, and yeah, that is a real thing. And yeah, you don't want to pass up on an offer like this. This is 30% on anything in the store on their website. Go to w.gg, take advantage of that promo code BRILL that you see right there on your screen, and save 30% on anything in their store. So, so yeah. So yeah, so what's going on? What's going what's going on here? Real quickly, um we have breaking news. Even though it's not wrestling related, just got the word um just moments ago that George Foreman, um legendary legendary boxer, Hall of Fame boxer, passed away at age 76. So Um, so yeah, that is breaking news, and condolences go out to Foreman and his family. Go out to Foreman's family and everything. He was a damn good boxer and makes one hell of a good grill. So yeah, and I actually got one of those. I think I'm going to break that open tomorrow in his honor. So yeah. Um. So yeah. Um. So we have so before we get started with with tonight's segment and what it's all about, um, 2K25 is doing pretty well out there, and I can't tell you because I haven't played it myself. Why? Because I don't have the game. So so yeah, um, the locker room codes. So 2K25 just released on their their social the their locker room code. And the first one on the list here is Dirty Dom Masked. And you punch in that locker code um, in the my faction. And see, I don't see. I wish I knew the menu and everything like that. But yeah, you redeem this locker code by April 18th to earn a masked Dominic Mysterio 2023 Persona card and 7,000 and 7,500 virtual currency. And of course, you got to have both the a 2K account and of course WWE 2K25. You cannot use this code for in 2K24. And so yeah, that is a shame. But yeah, you have until April 18th to get that, and yeah, so yeah, that's a really cool thing, and so yeah, that is going to be coming up and everything like that. So yeah, we're gonna have a really good time. So yeah, have a really good time with that, and add that to your collection and everything. So yeah. Been a low day today. Day's been going by fast. First day, second day of spring. First day of spring was yesterday, and I forgot to mention it on Channel X because I don't care. So, yeah, and the wind has been blowing like crazy over here today. It's been really windy, and so yeah, not too happy about it. Not too happy about it at all. So, um, so yeah, we are um debuting a new segment for the show, and it doesn't even have to be, this segment can show up on any Wrestling Prime show, whether it's on this one or Wrestling Prime Elite. It will pop up anywhere. And what this is called Wrestle Rant, and what it is basically um a take on my old Tom Dog rants that I used to do back in the day. Um, and what I would do, and I would just rant about everything. And this time, I'm just going to rant about wrestling. So I'm using this whole episode to explain uh, why I'm in such a ranting mood in the world of wrestling. And so yeah, and in the description, I mentioned about how John Cena and how John Cena and Jay Uso and everything, and couple in the Hall of Fame as well too. So how that all fits and everything like that. So yeah, there we go. And don't forget, chat. The chat is open, so come on and say hi, and any questions or comments and everything like that. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, one of the concerns being why am I burping so much on my show? So, so yeah. Um, yeah, that's an issue. That is an issue. That's okay. I still love you. But yeah, we're going to be talking nothing about all the stuff that's going on in the WWE, and yeah, this is this is going to be very very interesting to say the least. It's going to be very interesting. So yeah. Um. So let's start off about let's talk about Jey Uso. Um. still every and I'm putting and everything that I talk about in these rants um are going to be put to rest. So I know I said on some of them I wasn't going to talk to them about it anymore, especially on last week's episode. But this week's episode, I feel the need to talk about them because you know what, I'm just fed up with with the negativity, especially when it comes to Jey Uso. And um, you know, and this this is concerning. It really is. And not giving Jey Uso enough credit. And yeah, you know, we get it. He is a mid card guy. He's getting a title opportunity, and yeah, and hey, he won the Royal Rumble, and you know what, you know, and Jay, we said the same thing about Kofi Kingston when he won the Royal Rumble, and it's the same story because he's big, because even back then everybody was giving Kofi Kingston heat because of the fact, you know, giving giving Kofi Kingston flack because of the fact that he's wasn't the guy that you would have expected to win the Royal Rumble. And you know, you were expecting maybe like the top, some of the top guys that were in there. But given the time period, um, you know, he did his job well, and you know, and I think it was back in 2019 when he won the Royal Rumble. It was either 2019 or 2020. No, 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 not 2020. Never mind, scratch that. But it was 2019, and it was when SmackDown was moving stations and everything like that. And on the season opener of SmackDown, Brock Lesnar came in and took him out, and like basically, you know, just squashed him in in seconds. And you know, I was upset with it then, and I'm still upset with it now. And it just to me, I just thought it made no sense. But I understand, but at the time, yeah, it didn't make any sense. But at least I understood. And so, and yeah, but when Kofi Kingston won the Royal Rumble, everybody didn't, everybody had their doubts about it. Everybody did, and you know, and I was one of the guys that said, you know what, I'm glad that he won because I'm tired of the big guys, the big guys getting get always grabbing that spot, and nobody. It seems like nobody's getting a push. Even back then, nobody's getting that push, and there's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with mid card guys um who can entertain a crowd and go up and put on matches with main eventers and everything like that. It can do well. It can do well. And Kofi has proven himself to be that guy who can put on a good show, who can put on a good match, and do whatever. And yeah, he can really, he can put on a good show. And look what happened to him. He won the main event, and it was a good show. And he celebrated with his family and the New Day and hey, and hey, it works. But granted, he wasn't, you know, but granted, he wasn't, he didn't have the had the belt for too long, and but he did held it for a good time, even around that time, and then when they did the whole season premiere of SmackDown that later on that year, I mean, he held it for a good while, and you got to think about it too. There wasn't that much, there really wasn't enough main eventers out there. They were either out with an injury or they were out with go out doing other feuds and what have you. But nonetheless, Kofi held his own and everything like that, and he did really well. He did really well as a champion, and I mean, it wasn't like memorable. I mean, he had some good he had some good matches, but you know he did his job well for um keeping the belt warm until the next big thing came around. So, and of course Brock Lesnar came back and just destroyed him and had many feuds with you know with Roman and that's another thing. Roman Reigns was out too. So it was really hard to keep that belt for a while, and because he was out with because of his cancer and everything, and yeah, this was a really big deal. So yeah, everybody was giving Kofi Kingston flack back then, and now look, in years later, Jey Uso, 6 years later, Jey Uso is getting the same kind of flack. And to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with there's absolutely nothing wrong with mid card getting that push. Like I said, I mean, if it worked for Kofi Kingston, it can certainly work for Jay. You know, AJ Style, not AJ Styles. That's a big that's a bad um example. You know, I'm pretty sure that somewhere down the road, LA Knight's going to get a would probably get a push sometime. Look what they're doing with Braun Breaker. He's going to get I'm pretty sure he's going to get a push sometime soon too. And you know, after he drops the belt to somebody, he's gonna put, you know, he's gonna be rebranded as a main eventer, and because Brock Lesnar is no longer showing his face on WWE television, who you got to go with? The next strong guy, and that's Braun Breaker. So so yeah, I don't have a problem putting belts on mid card guys if they can put if as long as they're branded properly. And Jey Uso, he's branded pretty well. I mean, he's selling merch. His merch is selling. He's got the crowd all with him, doing the whole yeet and everything like that, and everybody's having a good time. And even Jay's interacting with the fans and stuff like that. Now, is this main event with Jey Uso with Gunther going to be top tier as Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, or even Cody Rhodes with John Cena? No, it's not, and that's the downfall because everybody's paying their ticket to see John Cena and Cody Rhodes, and you know, but then you have Jey Uso. So it's one of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, he's going to have his. I'm sure they're going to book him to have his WrestleMania moment, and because for the many matches that Jay and Jay and Gunther had, Gunther's won 100% of the matches. So why not? So how would you tell the story? Excuse me. How would you finish this story? And yeah, it is a story. It's a story between two men who, you know, good guy versus bad guy. The bad guy doesn't think that a guy like Jey Uso is well enough to be in his league as a main eventer. And that's what makes Gunther such an amazing heel, is because he's able to get that heat from the crowd and say, hey, listen, you're not even in my league, that sort of thing. And that's what makes Gunther so dislikable. And and this is a good this is a good Cinderella story. You have the underdog who went against the odds, shocked the world by eliminating John Cena, a main eventer, the top guy in the business, eliminating getting eliminated by a mid card guy who was a former tag champion and you know won mid card belts, and now look at him, he's main eventing WrestleMania. How would you tell that story? And that's simple. It's the only factor is that Jey Uso has to win WrestleMania. He has to. He's come close of beating Gunther in the past on a few occasions. This is the last. This is the last one. And yeah, you got to do this. You got that's how Jey Uso will be. Now, will he have a longer title run than Kofi? No. He'll have the same amount of run time. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But so so yeah, you know, Jey Uso came this close last time when he was on set. When him and Gunther fought at Saturday night's main event. Jey Uso came this close of becoming champion that night. And how they told that story is that you beat me, but you inspired me to beat you back. And at WrestleMania, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to beat you and become the champion. He he does it better than I do. But, you know, that's why I'm behind the camera and he's in the ring. So yeah, that's how I'm going to tell that story. That's how I'm going to tell it. Is that you're gonna? That's how you're going to have that WrestleMania moment. Is that he's going to beat Gunther, and he's going to have his WrestleMania moment. And there you go. that's my prediction. That's my prediction on that. So moving on. But before I do, I gotta blow my nose. I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Sorry about that, folks. Hey, I had to blow my nose and burp. Sorry. But anywho, where was I? Oh yes, I'm on Wrestling Prime. Um, so let's now talk about this whole John Cena mess because you know what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to defend why I think it's a good, this is a good idea for John Cena to turn heel. And, a lot of people saying, well, where's The Rock? Where's The Rock? And, he's making movies or what? I don't know. Listen, does he really need to be there? No, he doesn't really need to be there. I mean, for the storyline, maybe, but or just do like he doesn't have to be there. He doesn't have to be there every week up until WrestleMania. No, because he's the final boss. He's the not only just the final boss, but he's also the boss of the company. He he runs he's a part of TKO. So and he has other stuff that he's doing too. So and plus also the fact that UFL is coming back and he's got some stuff to do there too. So yeah, he's a very busy guy. Not just not just with making movies. I don't even know if he's even signed to make any other movies, but he's also he's got to do stuff with the WWE and the UFL and and other stuff. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some sort of collaboration with UFC as well too. So they're doing all him. He's a very busy man. Does he need to be on Raw every week? or SmackDown? No, he doesn't need to be. Let him let Cody and John do their own stuff, and you don't need the final boss. He'll be there at WrestleMania. I mean, that's a given. He'll be there at WrestleMania, but you know, especially building up to WrestleMania, he's going to be there even more. So for him not to be there now, it's good. He doesn't need to be here now. So maybe I would give it take maybe like give it like another week or so, a week or two before WrestleMania. He's going to he will show up more, but you probably won't see him next week, but you'll probably see him the week after. So yeah, because getting ready for WrestleMania, and so yeah, this is a really this is a good time. This is a really good time. And I don't have a problem with the Rock not being there. So, in spite what people may think, and and the fact that and I'm going to lay this to rest one more time. John Cena turning heel, it's good for him, and to prove how good of a good of an idea that this is. Watch Raw on Monday night, this past Monday. This was say a promo that you needed to see because John Cena aired out this frustration, was bottling up this frustration for many, for years. And, you know, which plays out really well. That he, he's become a meme because, with the whole can't see me, he's become invisible and everything like that. You know, it's funny, and I've done my share of poking fun at that too because I thought because hey, it's funny and it gets over. And so yeah, this was a good thing. And even years when when people didn't think didn't take him seriously and everything, and they were going John when this music would play out, John Cena sucks. And oh, here's another thing. I forgot to grab this earlier. Seen enough. Remember that? Remember that whole thing in the WWE? Um, you know, put a stop to that. I'm pretty sure that's going to make a comeback. So but John Cena, that stuff there. It was it did bother him, and yeah, he was saying that it didn't bother me. It's like this is you paid your ticket and everything like that, and And you know, and to me, I just thought that that is good that he's been able to bottle this up for so long, and that with Cody not selling his soul to selling his soul to The Rock, and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense for John Cena to do that because you know what? Hey, listen, since so Cody's not going to do that. Cody's not going to do that, and look what happened. Look what happened. They said if he's not going to turn heel, I will. You know, you know, and hey, think about this. John Cena and The Rock used to be rivals. They had a few matches against each other, and two of them at for WrestleMania, and it was a really big deal. It was a really big deal at the time because you know the you know, and at the time John Cena was upset with The Rock because The Rock was out making movies and everything, and John Cena's out, you know, out here, at the time he was out there week after week, putting butts in seats, and then the irony of that is that John Cena, that after shortly after that, John Cena becomes a hypocrite and he goes out to makes movies. You hardly see John Cena um on WWE, and then when he does he gets you know he puts the next guy over instead of winning another championship, and he hasn't won a match in a long time. So for for several years. So with him coming back and winning at Elimination Chamber to become the top, to be number one contender against Cody Rhodes, come on, that's a classic story. And then you got a baby face and a heel story. And yeah, it it sucks that he did it on Cody's expense and everything like that, and kicked him in the nuts, and then there you go. But hey, is there any other way to book John Cena as a heel? No, there isn't. This was the only way. And there's nothing wrong with that because if you go back in time, WrestleMania 17, 2001, WrestleMania uh either 17 or 18, I forgot which. No, it was 17. 2001. Main event was Rock versus Austin. Vince McMahon came in and everything like that, did this whole thing. What happened in that match? What happened to that match? What happened at the end of that match? Steve Austin puts on the $1 Million Dream. No one would expected him to do that because the last time he do it, he was the Dream. He was the he was a he was a ringmaster, and that's how he was booked. And you know, and and then shortly after, he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the rest is, as we say, is history. And and he's a Hall of Famer now and everything. You know, but going back to WrestleMania 17, Steve Austin turned heel. He beat up The Rock so bad that with chair shot after chair shot after chair shot after chair shot, and pretty much laid him out and everything. And look what happened. He gives he gives Vince McMahon the hug, the hug. He's like, and everything with the crazy eyes and stuff like that. He's like, he sold Steve Austin sold his soul to Vince McMahon. So yeah, and it worked. It worked. Nobody expected it. Nobody, no one thought of it. You know, everyone thought that the Rock, because of Rock's allegiances to Vince McMahon in the past with the corporation. Come on. Come on. Who I mean that at the time it was predictable like that. It was predictable. People were predicting that, oh yeah, the Brock's going to turn heel on that match. He's going to sell out to, he's going to sell the soul to Vince McMahon. Nope. It was the other way around. Steve Austin sold the soul to Vince McMahon. Look what happened. Look what happened. So yeah, it became one of the most shocking moments in WWE history. It became one of the most shocking moments in WWE history, and you can't not take that. You cannot, especially that it happened at WrestleMania. So you look at it years later. Why wouldn't you be upset with that? Why wouldn't why now down the road they're pretty much doing the same thing again, only this time John Cena embraces The Rock, takes out he sold his soul to The Rock and put the hurt on Cody Rhodes in the middle of the ring at Elimination Chamber, and right there you go. So that's how you would tell that story. That's how you would tell that story, and it makes good. And that promo that he made on Monday, awesome, awesome stuff. And and think about this. Think about this too. Think about this as well. Who was on commentary when Steve Austin turned heel at that time? Jim Ross, who looked up, who was good friends with Steve Austin at that time, And Jim Ross called out, said some things about Steve Austin the moment Steve Austin turned heel and got his ass whooped. I'm telling you this story. I'm telling you that part to tell you this one. There's a clip from a podcast called Legion of Raw. And Vince Russo was the guest. And I'm not going to show you the clip because I don't have the technology to do so, but I'm going to have you listen to the audio. And so hopefully it comes out. Oh, here we go. Absolute money.
And another thing too, Chris, the worst thing, Michael Cole, shut the F up, bro. Shut the F up, bro. You're supposed to be an announcer. Now you're calling John Cena an irrational prick. Oh, okay, bro. So now the announcers are gonna start, calling the wrestlers' names. That's what we. I swear to God, bro. Michael Cole, I could care less if you hate me. If this gets back to you, I don't really care because you are showing week after week after week after week how badly you needed Vince McMahon in your headsets. Because to call a superstar an irrational prick, because that'll be fine, Chris, if next week Michael Cole goes to interview John Cena, and John Cena annihilates him. That's fine then. No.
So yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Cole on Monday told Vince Russo that he's an ignorant prick. And and don't forget, this is coming from Vince Russo. Vince Russo, a clown, a writer, going to tell you that he's gonna going to tell you that he was the man behind, you know, guys like, you know, like Triple H and The Rock and Steve Austin and Undertaker and all those guys and everything like that. When Vince Russo got signed, came into World Championship Wrestling, he was a laughing stock. And and one of them being Ric Flair that didn't take him seriously. And Ric Flair didn't didn't like his leadership when he was taking over ownership and everything like that. Mind you too, Vince Russo is the one that came up with Judy Bagwell on a pole match. Remember that? Remember that match? Also remember that that championship in a box? Remember that? And that whole thing with Hulk Hogan? Remember that? Yeah. That was all Vince Russo. So and and yeah, I want to say that he's responsible for the reason for World Championship Wrestling's demise, but he contributed to it. So he was going to change the brand, change the company around, and that didn't happen. And so yeah, it's a big thing. And you know what? I don't even care. I don't even care what Vince Russo says about me. I don't even care if he happens to be watching this show or just comes up to it by passing. Just because I'm pretty sure that he watches other content on YouTube, and I really don't care what he thinks about me. I really don't care if he does watch me. I don't care. I really don't care. But there's nothing wrong with a commentator to have feelings for there's nothing wrong with a wrestling commentator to have strong emotion to when their their former buddy turns heel and turns his back on the fans that helped made him that and do all that. I mean, Steve Austin. Steve Austin was on the same route, like I said. The Rock, same way. Undertaker, same way. Triple H, same way. There's nothing wrong with it. And think about this too. You take a look at Kofi Kingston, who I just talked about earlier. Look at what him and Xavier Woods are doing with the New Day. Look what they got rid of they got rid of Big E, and then next thing you know, they're a heel team. And yeah, that's a thing. So it's not that big of a deal when your hero turns into a bad guy, because what was that famous quote? You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself as the villain. Bray Wyatt exposed him back in 2020 with the Firefly match. All these other guys that cut promos on John Cena, hell, CM Punk with the pipe bomb. Who was in the ring? Who was in the ring when CM Punk laid the pipe bomb? When he did that infamous pipe bomb promo? John Cena. And had a huge feud with John Cena at that time. Everybody remembers it, and it was legendary. Why do you think they had that moment in the ring? Everybody loved it. So, and then when CM Punk even called him out on it, he was right. He was right. All these other guys that cut promos on John Cena were right. So how is this any different? So how is this not okay for a commentator to have strong emotions about a wrestler that they became friends with on the road and everything like that, and traveled together and everything like that? What if long ago, as a matter of fact, actually it did happen. If you remember, it didn't happen with the WWE, but it sure as hell happened in World Championship Wrestling. The day when Hulk Hogan turned heel. Bash of the Beach, 1996. One of the most memorable moments in wrestling history at that time. The New World Order was um wasn't even a name yet. We just had the outsiders, Hall and Nash. They came into World Championship Wrestling after that curtain call with WWE, because they were offered more money in WCW. And at Bash of the Beach, there was supposed to be a 6-man tag match. On one side, you had Sting, Savage, and Luger against Hall, Nash, and a mystery partner. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. Except for two people. Actually, well, no, maybe 4 people. Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. Those were the guys that knew. But originally, Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff were the first. So and it's even brought up in Eric Bischoff's book, which I still recommend that book to this day, and I read the whole thing, which is um the name of the book is Controversy Creates Cash. If you haven't read that book, I strongly suggest you do so because it's a really good read. And in there he talks about how he came about, and in that book Eric Bischoff brought up how the origin of Hulk Hogan turning heel. And at that time, Hulk Hogan was more of a baby face. And before Hulkamania ran wild, um, he started off in the business as a bad guy. He was managed by Classy Freddie Blassie. I talked about this, you know, during the Elimination Chamber review and also last week. But so yeah, nobody really knew who he was. He was just Hulk Hogan. Then when he came, after he did, and then after he did um, Rocky 3, he was fired from the original WWF or whatever, that was run by Vince Senior. But he got sent back to um, AWA, and Madison Square Garden was happening, um, and then along came um, Hulk Hogan getting signed for um, to have a match at Madison Square Garden against the Iron Sheik, and Hulk Hogan won the match, and the rest you say is history because Hulkamania was born that day when he won the WWE Championship. So yeah, this was a really big deal. Flash forward, and then so so Eric Bischoff goes down to Hulk Hogan's Florida home, and it's just the two of them, and had some beers and whatnot, and said, hey, how would you feel about turning heel? And Hogan said, well, I'm not, I'm more of a baby, I'm always booked as a baby face, and I do all these things for the kids and everything like that, and you know, you know, Hulk Hogan's, a household name, and then Eric Bischoff goes to the point where he's like, goes and says, well, you know, but the kids that you told say your prayers, eat your vitamins, believe in yourself, and all that other stuff. The training, the prayers, and the vitamins. You know, those kids are grown up now, and it's the '90s. You don't, and Bischoff's right. It's like you don't really represent the '90s because you're more of an '80s icon. With the rock and wrestling and all that stuff that you did back in the day. In that cartoon. I mean, you were a household name. But then when you came into World Championship Wrestling, nobody really cared, because you were pretty much done with wrestling at that time because you were out going to make movies. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you had this ticker tape parade with the red and yellow Viper, Dodge Viper, with Hogan, with Hulkamania on the hood of the car, and getting signed with World Championship Wrestling, and it was still people didn't care and everything like that. But then in 1996, but then in 1996, things changed. There was these two guys, Hall and Nash. They were coming in from another company, WWE, and willing to take over WCW. And it was a good story. It's like, oh, we're taking over, brother. We're taking over, um, and that sort of thing. The measuring stick just changed it. You know, they weren't here to play. This is where the big boys play, but we're not here to play. The measuring stick just changed, and and in that Great American Bash, you know, Nash put Bischoff off in the power bomb, and then they started having feuds with a lot of guys in the back, and then next thing you know, Sting, Luger, and Savage all came up and said, "Hey, hey, we're gonna fight these guys, and hey, hey, we got a we got a third guy." You know, not my best Scott Hall impersonation, but you get the drift. so, so, so Eric Bischoff was pitching this idea to Hogan about Hogan turning heel and being the third guy at Bash of the Beach. And Hogan was thinking about it and everything like that, and he said, "You know what? I'll do it, but I don't want nobody to know until I go out in the ring." And so they were pitching this idea and everything like that. They were pitching this idea, and they were sitting down and everything, and about how this was going to go. And what you saw at Bash of the Beach was what they were working with. I said, okay, you know, during this whole time, during this whole time, it's just going to be Hall and Nash. We don't know. All hell's going to break loose near the end. Then next thing one of the guys get hurt, and it still gets out of control. So then it's just like two guys left, um, two guys, two guys there, and then you know, and everybody thinks that Hulk Hogan's, and this is Hulk Hogan's pitch, mind you. This is going to be Hulk Hogan's pitch now. Hogan said, you know, have one of the guys get hurt where they can't, where they have to get taken out by a stretcher, and the only person that would be fitting to do so is Sting. It would be the only way. So Sting gets taken out, and now it's just Savage and Luger. Then you go, and then all hell, then of course all hell breaks loose and everything like that, and to maintain order. But then all of a sudden, no music is playing and everything like that. Just Hulk Hogan walking down that aisle, and everybody's going in. Literally, everybody's going nuts finally because everybody, you know that Hulk Hogan was going to save the day and everything like that. And kind of like what he used to do back in his days in WWE. You know, when you know whenever his buddies would you know get messed up and everything like that, Hulk Hogan always comes in and saves the day, and they're all embracing and doing the poses and what have you, and then making powers happen, and then Savage turns heel, and because he thinks that Hogan's uh, trying to take Miss Elizabeth away from him and all that stuff and classic stuff. But anyways, I'm digressing here. Then Hogan comes out, and everybody thinks that he's going to help out, help out Luger and Savage. And Savage is laid out and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, Hogan drops the legs on Savage. Hogan drops the leg on Savage. There's no contest and everything like that. The match pretty much ends and everything like that because there's no referee. There's all hell's breaking loose. Was breaking loose. There's crap thrown into the ring. Then after all that fiasco, Gene Okerlund comes out and and you know color commentary, good friends with Hulk Hogan, and then Hulk Hogan drops this infamous promo about how he wished he would have done it 2 years because 2 years prior he came into the WCW. So he's talking about I've done everything for the charities. I've done everything for the kids. And the reception and this is still edged in everyone's mind right now at that time that the reception I got when I came out here, you fans can stick it, brother. That blew everybody's mind. That just like that was not and me saying that goosebumps. When he told the kids to stick it and his Hulkamaniacs to stick it, and then putting his hands on Gene Okerlund, who was his best friend from traveling on the road together and everything, and then it was awesome. It was an awesome moment in television. Yeah, it happened on a pay per view, but why not? Hulk Hogan, top guy, turn heel, and told the fans to stick it. They showed some kids were crying and everything like that. Golden. Steve Austin, same story. WrestleMania 17 goes out there, sells his soul to Vince McMahon, cuts a promo the next night about why he did what he did. Then next thing you know, he puts his hands on Jim Ross. There you go. And then now, fast forward years later, John Cena does everything for the Make a Wish Foundation. Now, and now look at it. And then now, after Michael Cole said what he said with true emotion, I'm pretty sure that they'll put that story in there where John Cena will put his hands on Michael Cole in the same fashion. And that's what tells the story. And then here come but in a twist, instead of Michael Cole getting taken out like all the like the other guys, Cody Rhodes comes in and saves the day. And there you go. There you go. Because already, if you think about it, because if you really pay attention to what Cody said to John at the end of that promo, it's like I want the John Cena that's not a whiny bitch. He wants the John Cena that's on his shirt, not this whiny bitch that's breaking up with the fans. So had Cody not say that, we probably wouldn't get that moment where either on Raw or SmackDown or what have you, where John Cena is going to put his hands on Michael Cole. And there you go. It makes sense. So with even Michael Cole calling him a prick, then yeah, they're going to write that where John Cena is going to do something to Michael Cole because he go, you're calling me a prick, and this is how you treated me. This is the thanks I get for putting you over all those times. Not by wrestling, but by you know you know you calling my matches and being on the road together and all that other stuff, and being close, being good friends and everything like that. So yeah. And then look at now Michael Cole's friends with Cody Rhodes. And yeah. And I'm pretty sure somewhere down the road that, Cody's going to do the same thing. He's going to turn heel and he's going to talk, he's going to talk down to Michael Cole. And again, there you go. But now is not the time. So this works. So why not have a color commentator have emotion for the top guy in the business turning heel and turning back on a friendship that they once had. That's good story. That's good story. I mean that's something that I would watch or pay a ticket to go see. So for Vince Russo to say that, to say what he said about Michael Cole, bro, shut the fuck up. Really. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with a color commentator having emotions for their for their friend. Because that's how it goes. It writes a good story. And I hope that fart came out because that's what I think of Vince Russo's comment. Oh, that stunk, bro. So it's going to make all sense later on. So don't worry, folks. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I'm loving where this is all leading to, and they're going to have a good match at WrestleMania, and they're going to tear the roof off. I mean, come on. If it's not in the domed arena, if it's not in the dome arena, then then there's there's no roof or anything like that. But still, it's going to be in Vegas, and something's going to get blown up. So yeah, um, so yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I love the story. Vince Russo, he just doesn't. He's just bitter because nobody wants him to write anything for any wrestling companies anymore, and that's a good thing. He's just bitter. He's a bitter old man, bro. So I don't know. I'm just a wrestling fan. Okay, I'm just a wrestling fan who has been a fan of the product ever since I was in diapers. So and and then when that time comes where I'm going to be in diapers again, I'm still going to be a wrestling fan, especially for all the products and everything like that. But I'm starting to lean towards AEW. But you didn't hear that from me. But you know, gotta move on. And I'm gonna move on with this last article of my rant, and that is the Hall of Fame. Now, there was a YouTube channel that I watched, and there was a YouTube channel that I watched. Um, Not too long ago, because it came up on my feed, and the name of the let's see, I want to see how long ago this was. Um, okay, it was over like a week or so ago, and this video came out 9 days ago, and the name of the channel is called Wrestling World, and um, I don't know the author's name, but the narrator for that, but that video, um, that video right there.
WWE Hall of Fame.
Oops, wrong. Um, yeah, it came out 9 days ago. So about a good week and a half, I would say. But anywho, I don't know the narrator's name, and um, and it's good because I'm not going to mention his name, but I am going to mention the name of the video in question is 10 wrestlers who don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And though I do agree with some of the names, the other names I have to disagree with. Um, now I'm Now again I'm going to put this to rest, and I can't stress this enough because I'm tired of talking about it. And that goes for anybody who brings up the brings up the Hall of Fame in their videos. Stop mentioning Chris Benoit's name. He does not belong anywhere near the WWE Hall of Fame. And I get the idea of that the WWE Hall of Fame is not an actual Hall of Fame. Like you can't go to, you can't go to um some building and have these, kind of like how they have the Wrestling Hall of Fame or um the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Mass, or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, um, wherever that is, um, that sort of thing, and or even in Cooperstown where they had the Baseball Hall of Fame, that sort of thing. I get it, I understand, but the way they do the Hall of Fame for the WWE is to give them, you know, a history. It gives fans of not only the company but also fans of wrestling who have you know paved the way for superstars of today who who help who help pave that way. And that's why we have these Hall of Fames every year, is because of the fact that it's giving the young wrestling fans a history lesson on wrestlers that they may not know about. Because let's face it, today's generation of wrestling fans don't really care about the history. So some may say that they do, but there are some who legitimately don't, and they don't really care. You know, that's why when you go, you know, when you see them talking about the past and everything like that, the ones are cheering are always glad to hear them have a story to tell. But then you have those other ones are just saying, come on, boring, thank you, and just move on. You know, trying to treat it like it's the Oscars or something like that. You know, perfect example when Sensational Sherry got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Everybody was heckling her. There were some people heckling her and everything like that, and nobody really gave a shit. So, um, but there were some of the guys that this particular person on his list got me upset. Rocky Johnson. He's trying to say that Rocky Johnson doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Trying to tell me um, that Teddy Long doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He's going to say that um, Chi Peter Maivia doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Coco Beware. You're trying to say that he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame? Give me a fucking break. Okay? Just because some of these guys were talent enhancers and didn't get the big prize doesn't mean that they aren't any good. And then you're going to say that Hillbilly Jim doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Give me a break. These guys I mentioned has contributed a lot to the business, whether they were in WWE or they weren't. the fact that they contributed some sort of fashion into the Hall of Fame is legendary. And he even mentioned some of their accolades, like winning championships, even though it wasn't the main event, the main event championship. Doesn't matter. You got a belt to your waist, and if you had other belts in other territories, that shows for something. And the fact that he was referencing them as jobbers is a stupid name. It's talent enhancer. And that's another gripe I have. I'm tired of that word jobber because they are talent enhancers. Okay? Just want to clarify that. The word jobber is an insult to the wrestlers. Okay? Just want to let you know. It's an insult to the wrestlers who who warm up the bigger names so that they can get prepared for their match at at a pay-per-view or some other live event. Okay? So yeah. No more use of the word jobber because that wasn't their role. Their role is to put the top guy over. That was their role. They're either considered fall guys or talent enhancers. I prefer talent enhancers because that's what they are. And if you don't believe me, go ask my good friend Barry Horowitz, who also deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Thank you. He wasn't mentioned on the list, but if he was, I would have commented on there. And I don't normally comment on anybody's YouTube channel, but if Barry's name was on there, I would have. But anyways, I digress. So this list literally made no sense. William Shatner, I can understand. It makes sense that William Shatner doesn't belong anywhere on the, doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame because he only had that one spot with Jerry Lawler, and he was only out there. He was only out there promoting Tech War because they were all on the because at the time Monday Night Raw and Tech War were all on the USA Network, so they had a thing going on, and and he did that, and he did that monkey flip to Jerry Lawler on King's Court, and the rest is history. Then um, years later, he William Shatner gets called to become a guest general manager of Raw, and and I do have to correct him because he didn't write any music. He didn't write any music for William Shatner did not write any music for the WWE. Okay, they were doing a bit. Okay, they were doing a bit on Raw because the joke is that William Shatner is not a Grammy award winning singer. Okay, he doesn't have those huge ballads, but he is famous for Rocket Man and and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and all those other things. And he talks, not sings. He talks. So he could be like, "I packed my bags last night, free flight, 0 hour, 9 a.m. and I'm feeling." So the joke is that on this particular night on Raw, he was he was poking fun at some of the songs on that some of the wrestlers would come out to, and one of them was Shawn Michaels's "Sexy Boy." and he was talking there. He was like, I'm a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. So yeah, it was a funny bit, but it was boring. It literally made no sense. But hey, I mean, something like that would have, you know, Vince Russo would have loved to write that for on that particular night. But digress. But anyways, so with that being said, it just it just it was just pathetic. It was just so pathetic. So yeah, I agree. William Shatner does not belong in the Hall of Fame, and some of the celebrities don't even belong on that list, anyways. Um, Drew Carey, which I'm surprised they didn't bring up in that segment, because Drew Carey sure as hell don't belong on there either. Yeah, he did that one stunt at the Royal Rumble, and somehow he get. I don't know who's asked I don't know who lost the bet on there, but to be honest with you, I mean, he does not belong on anywhere on there. You know, I don't mind if a celebrity is inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, but they had to have some sort of contribution. Pete Rose being one of them. Pete Rose is a perfect example of a celebrity being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame works. And Pete Rose, God, rest in peace. I still believe he should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but that's neither here nor there. But he had some great moments with Kane, and they continued that rivalry even when Pete Rose became guest host of Monday Night Raw, and it was an awesome moment. So yeah, so in one way or another, Pete Rose has always had found his way to have a moment in that ring. So there you go. So does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Yes. Yes, he does. Snoop Dogg, does he belong in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. He's had a lot of contributions to the WWE. And so I don't have a problem with that. Muhammad Ali, absolutely. He's had some. He was a special referee. He was a referee for the main event at the first WrestleMania. He deserves to be in there. I know Cyndi Lauper's not in there, but she deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. She does. I don't know if she wants to be in there, but it would be nice to see her on there. Kid Rock, he's done some songs. He's done some songs on there. So I guess Donald Trump, as much as I hate to say it, yeah, he belongs in the he's deserving of the he's hosted he's been in he's hosted two WrestleManias at his casino, and then he was also you know a guest host of Monday Night Raw, and did this stunt with Vince McMahon leading up to WrestleMania 23, where Trump was in one corner, Vince was in another, and hey, they're close friends, obviously, because Linda McMahon's a part of that. So him and Vince are good friends. So there you go. That's all you need to know about that. So WrestleMania 4 and 5. at the Trump Plaza, There, that's all you need to know. So, what's the big deal? So I don't have a problem with that. You know, it has nothing to do with his political, because I'm not here for that, because I don't give a shit. Everybody knows how I feel about him. That's to be seen. Anywho, and I know Logan Paul is, has a long way to go before he's even into the Hall of Fame, but he's going to be another celebrity that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Um, what the hell is that? ISO Speed's probably going to get in the celebrity ring, you know, because of his many and because of his contributions, especially that spear that he took from Braun Breaker, which I still continue to see on a continuous loop because I love it. Sorry, Speed, but it is what it is. You know, and I'm pretty sure Travis Scott's going to be in there too. Um, but hey. But anyways, you know, but yeah, there are some celebrities that don't belong in there, like I said, and and that kid is right. William Shatner being one of them, because he had little to no contributions to the WWE at all. Same thing with Bob Uecker. I love you, Bob. I do love you. Rest in peace. But you know, you were only there at that one WrestleMania where you interviewed Andre the Giant. He went, oh, you got choked. You got choked by Andre. By Andre, which is I mean, yeah, I would say that he belongs in there because Bobby Euchre's was so great. He was really cool. So yeah. Um, but yeah, you know, but it's only a matter of time before we get to see Hector Guerrero into the Hall of Fame, and I would love to see Hector Guerrero in there. And if you don't know who Hector Guerrero is, he is I believe he's brothers with Eddie, but that's not all he's famous for. He's famous for one gimmick that didn't click really well in 1990, the gobbledygooker. And yeah, I'm putting the gobbledygooker in that and on that list because yes, gobbledygooker was entertaining, and I want the gobbledygooker into the WWE Hall of Fame. Yes, I do. Even if you just put Hector Guerrero in there, I'll be fine. But have him go in there as gobbledygooker. I'm just saying. And Brother Love. Come on, Bruce Pritchard. Come on, put him in there. And oh yeah, by the way, I don't know if this is true, but I hope it is. But if you ever get the time to fire Logan Paul, I want you to televise that because I he does not belong in the WWE. That's just that's just my personal opinion. I don't care if you like him or anything like that. Hey, if you like him, kudos to you. But to me, Logan Paul can go fuck himself. So yeah. But anyways, but yeah, there's like other guys that don't belong in the Hall of Fame, and like even some of the wrestlers. Um, like I really don't know. I really don't know who would be perfect to be in the Hall of Fame. But who you know, I mean, you won't see Billy Jack Haynes in there. You won't see um Outback Jack anywhere on that list. But yeah, it's one of those things that he doesn't that some of those guys don't really belong. You won't see Dino Bravo anywhere on that list either. Maybe not. I don't know. But who knows? And a lot of people saying that Abdullah the Butcher shouldn't even anywhere be on that list because he never fought in WWE. Okay, so he never fought in WWE, but he's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. So I mean, you think of moments that wrestlers have had with some of the guys in the business that did wrestle for WWE or WWF at the time. Yeah, why not? Why not? So so the guy that made that list doesn't really know to me he doesn't know what he's talking about, and to be quite honest with you, it was a stupid list. Chris Benoit I can understand, but you don't need to keep, people stop bringing him up. Okay, stop bringing him up. And as much as we would like to see Owen Hart in the Hall of Fame, it's not going to happen because of the tragedy behind that story, you know, and it's still gonna, and Owen's widow still hates um Vince and the WWE to this day because it should never have happened, and it's true. It should never have happened. There was no need for Owen Hart to be in that particular thing, you know. But Vince was like, "Oh, it's safe and everything, yada yada yada." We all know the story. We've seen countless biographies about it, but and it still ends the same. And yeah, I'm pretty sure. So if that didn't happen, he would be in Hall of Fame, and we wouldn't be talking about this. And yeah, and I'm going to be on record right now that Owen Hart would even be um probably wrestling for AEW and retire there, you know, that sort of thing. But that again, that's neither here nor there. But at the same time, but at the same time, Owen Hart deserves something. He, and I can, and I understand, and I do think, I do, feel bad for his widow and everything like that, and you know, but I'm glad that she's able to keep his memory alive through other companies and everything like that, and that's really good. That's a really good tribute. However, just just for one night, you know, allow him to be in a Hall of Fame from a company that he had a lot of passion for, and his brother, whenever Bret Hart is always on, he always talks about him and the many moments that Owen has had in the ring, and even outside of the ring with the ribbing. But it's a good moment. It would be a good moment, and I myself is a huge Owen Hart fan. I still watch his matches even to this day, and still talk about him even on here. So yeah, he's more than deserving to be on the Hall of Fame. You know, more than deserving. and it would be a good it would be a good tribute. It really would. But as far as some of the other guys that don't belong in the Hall of Fame, I get it and I would understand. Enzo Amore, I don't, it's iffy because you know of the history. I'm pretty sure that that's not going to happen. Big Bill, maybe, it's possible, but um, and there's like some others that I'm forgetting that doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm still glad that Lex Luger is in the Hall of Fame because you know what he's well deserving. If you ever read his book that he had, do so. I mean, it's also a good read. I read it too. It's a really good book, but I don't have it with me because I had a fire almost 5 years ago, and it got destroyed. So I don't have that book either. So and it's sad. It's sad, but um, you know, but yeah, if anybody's, but Luger deserves it. He's been through a lot and everything. In spite of in spite of the rumors that you may have heard and everything like that. But like I said, read the book. It's a good read. Um, but as you know, it but with this list alone, some of that in the list does not make sense, and it just bothered me. It really did, and it was just it was just horrible. It was a horrible list, and it should never even been made. But so yeah, and you know that's just the way it is. But I'm not going to tell him how to do things on this channel because hey, that's what he wants. That's what he wants. But I don't agree with his opinion. I don't agree with his opinions. But at the same time, I don't. I'm not going to. I'm not going to um, tell him what to say either because that's his channel and I really respect that. So yeah. So holy crap! I almost went on 2 hours. Got 10 more minutes, folks. But I'm not going to stay on that long. No way. It's getting late and I'm getting tired. So, with that being said, um, thank you for listening to my rants and everything like that. You know, there'll be more like this in the future, and maybe even turn it into a standalone project. But I wanted to try it on here because there was a lot to get off my chest when it comes, especially when it comes near WrestleMania and the Hall of Fame. I had to talk about them and pretty much put these baby to rest because you know what? I've seen enough. So, but anyways, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Be sure to follow me on Blue Sky at TomDog247. If you missed any of tonight's episode, you can check it out as soon as I turn off the camera. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Comment down below. Um, what do you think of the scene? This Cena heel turn. Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you. And ring the bell to stay notified on what I'm going to be doing next. And be sure to support small streamers like myself by doing the most important thing that you can do for us small streamers like myself, and that is acknowledge that subscribe button. So we will see you all here again next week for Wrestling Prime. Um, for Wrestling Prime Elite, I am not doing it tomorrow, but I'm going to be moving that to Sunday because there's going to be 2 nights of AEW after the thing. So after the basketball tournament, with the Big East and everything like that. So the NCAA championship. So after those are over, I'm going to be watching those. Um, so I don't know what time those shows are going to be over with, but as soon as they will, I'll be able to call that. And if and this is a really big if for Sunday's show. If AEW is going live around the same time I do Wrestling Prime Elite, I'm going to turn it into a live reaction stream. Okay, so um, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. It is possible that I might be doing that. So it's a question mark, and at the moment about the live reaction. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for that. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to um, just do it regular. So we will see. So we'll work out something. We'll work out something. But anyways, um, but yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on Sunday for Wrestling Prime Elite. Till then, this is Tom Dog. Whoops, I gotta fix this. Okay, there we go. And but yeah, I'll see you on Sunday for Wrestling Prime Elite. Till then, this is Tom Dog saying take care, so long, peace. Have a good night, everybody. See you then.